Middlemon Custom Tournament, only 2 or 3 diamonds. Silver Lee's banned, so is Ram Parados, all trainers good, even fossils. And there's extra legal promos too. Ultra Beasley Crowsworth. For game 1, skip with the chapters, otherwise let's do some testing. Right, so I thought this tournament I'd have a bit of a breakdown of the decks I ran during testing and how I sort of ranked them overall. Well, my builds of them anyway, because it might seem a bit controversial. I'm going to start off with like my F rank builds, and these are the ones that just failed. I just couldn't get them to work, so I just cut them off. And starting off with Steelix, for some reason, even with Jasmine, Steel Apron, Nalaman, it still just took too long to build up and get going and try and survive. Plus, one of the major opponents was Turtonator and Blazefilon. So, being that was the most popular deck, and Steelix has got fire weakness, it's not that great. Plus, when you evolve to Steel, it loses that super effective fighting attacks that you used to have against normal. And the only other thing is, I set Brock in there, which you need to like speed it up. That just really clogs the deck with the amount of supporters you need to play. And obviously Brock doesn't work in Steelix. Next up was my Electrifier deck. Perhaps it was just my build, but I also found I just never had the energy I needed. Maybe I wasn't getting the Volkner, I wasn't getting the Evos, or I just end up with no Pichus or no Elemental Switch. It just wouldn't work for me, so no. And the last one, this is the most controversial, was Bastion on the Skarmory, which on paper should be really good, it's really popular, but for some reason every time I tested it I just never got out of the fossil line. I just either got destroyed in the mirror, or a Turtonator just outsped me, or just something else. So basically I've just dropped it from the ranks. Next up then is the D rank decks, and these are basically the worst of the decks I considered using for the tournament. So first up I've got the Necrozma Ultra Beasts. Obviously these 2 guys were the only exceptions to the 2 and 3 diamond rule. I ran with the steel one, the Dusk main, not the Dawn main. And it's only because Limitless calls them 3 diamond. But anyway, I paired it up as complete Ultra Beast, so I had Stack Attacker, I had Celesteela, had all the support, and the deck just for some reason fell flat. Probably again because of the amount of fire decks I found in testing. So I moved on. Then I had Porygon Z. He's really useful, especially with Porygon 2. You get the easy evolutions, you don't need rare candies. And the main problem in this deck was probably my choice of partner, because I went with Drudagon. I didn't find it successful, so I moved on, but there probably is a couple of good Pory decks out there. And then finally, I've got both the fire decks. So as I said, the most popular was pairing Turtonator and Blazefilon. I put them both separately. Blaze had an Ultra Beast deck, so he had Celesteela enough support. And the Turtonator I put with the Oricorio Fire. Plan being you could use them as a battery while you're making your opponent discard of their energy. But because I didn't pair them up, they both suffer from their inherent weaknesses, and so the decks just won. If we go on to the C rank, these are like my average decks. First up, I get my Grass one, the only one I tested. It's a classic like aggressive Carnivine and Arceus, but also partnered it with Pheromosa and Cyrus for like drawing out troublesome bench guys. It's got Leaf Cakes, it's got Erica, but again, fire was overwhelming in testing, so it just never really got off the ground. Then I have got the Magma Evo line, so you've got Magma powers them up early, Magmortar can either get the 70 damage and potential stall, or the 120 minimum with the burn. Both were useful, but the main problem with this one was if I didn't get the Evo, I'm stuck with a Magma who does 80 damage but takes 2 energy, and a lot of the bulky guys could take the 80 damage and keep on going. So again, I was just like, well, not that. Then I had Onyx. This deck actually did better than the Steelix deck. I think it's because you didn't have to worry about evolving, so you could attack with 1 less energy, get your Brocks going on. And actually probably the main selling point of the deck wasn't the Onyx, it was probably the Kabutops I paired it with. Because Onyx lasted long enough so I could actually get the fossils, and then Kabutops just goes on surviving forever. And the main reason I didn't run this is because I had about 4 matches in a row against other Kabutops where it just ended up stalling. And sometimes they might have had an extra point first, or sometimes it was equal. But I remember in another tourney where it was just like Kabutops stalled against each other for draws. So I was like, nah, I'm not going to have that. So now we move on to the B decks. These are the ones that almost made it. And funnily enough, both of these are variants of stuff that I made to do with when I was testing for the bird tournament. First up, there's water, and it's just water in general. Because a lot of the water decks will be very similar to this, but mine was Articuno and Palkia, like Origin form, with Will. So I either got some naughty paralysis stuff, or I got some super duper hits. And like all water, it's got Irida in there to heal, and it's got Misty for like super energy generators, so you can get the big hits out early. And the deck had a lot of potential, but it just had the classic letdown. So if your luck's down, you can struggle if you can't get the heads, and it lost every mirror match I faced, so it was no for me. The other deck was also a legendary bird, but this was Moltres, and I ran this with Arceus and Heatran. The plan here, you build up the Moltres in the back row, and then Arceus lets Heatran retreat for free. You go in with Will, you get a nice big KO hit. Or if you needed, you could elemental switch the energy to the damaged Heatran and just hit them for 80. And the downside of this was if you can't find the Will, you're relying on flipping the heads, which is 50-50. Everyone always finds it's not 50-50. Also, like, it couldn't one-shot, like, say, a Snorlax or a Caped Palkia, and for 100 HP, it could easily get one-shotted by a couple of guys in retaliation. So I left them out. So now we move to the top tier, where there was 4 decks left at the A rank. 2 of them didn't make it to the final stage, and beginning with the Blissey, and again this idea came from trying to replicate my bird deck. But obviously, because Ho is not allowed, instead I had to flood it with babies, so that Chansey would build up all the energy before going to Blissey for like the super damage. Fortunately, the deck strength was also its undoing, because there was a couple of matches where I lost to a baby brick, or because I couldn't evolve to use the babies, Blissey got hidden by Red Card or Mars, or Repel pulled out my chance from the bench early, and then I'd either end up sacrificing it or wasting the Irida and losing all that energy. Everyone was Snorlax, and it had the fairly simple barrier the Snorlax for 100 damage on the opponent, so you can put extra energy on the bench before you then either sacrifice it or use Ilima to recall it and deny your opponent the point. It's all water energy as well as Mantike, which lets you have the Irida. And the centerpiece of the deck actually was Regigigas. So once you get a point or 2 hopefully with your Snorlax, you just send out the Reggie, and anything that tries to stomp him, he stomps back harder. I didn't really like it. I probably should have ran with it, but I only had 4 Pokemon, so they were all weak to Repel, which was one issue I had, and the reliance on the supporters was another. So I chose something else, which brings me to my final chosen 2. The first up, I thought it was really clever, and it was the final legendary bird, running Astos. So you've got Zapdos as your main attacker, hits for 100, or he hits waters for 120, so it gets a lot of KOs. But the secret weapon was actually Mimikyu on the bench, because Zapdos needs to do 30 damage on the bench, stick it on there, next turn Ace Roller. So we can actually hit 130, 140 on a single turn. Mixing it with Repel as well, you could actually take out a baby with the Ace Roller before then getting the 100 damage. I even ran it with dual energy to start with and a Will, and one game it came in handy where I had the double psychic, put it on the Mimikyu and sent it out against Palkia O, used the Will, got the heads, got the second heads, and just one-shotted it out of nowhere. Later on though, I rebuilt it to add in Zorora instead as a secondary attacker for 2 energy, so I didn't need the psychic guys. And also again, elemental switch to help speed up the Zapdos. And basically this deck was actually locked in until the last day of registration, and I just went through a spell of decks using Cyrus to grab my damaged Mon. I was facing steel decks like Skarmories that one-shot the Mimikyus, and it just went downhill from there. So I was like, oh, second guessed it, so I turned to my reserve deck, Poison Tank. So my version of the Miltank deck ran it a lot like the normal one, where possible you only play your cow and you just sit there, so you can't be Sabrinaed, you can't be repelled, and just keep attacking and healing with Whitney until you build up super damage. And the point being, I've got poison barbs in there, so opponent hits get poison, it does chip damage, but also at some point if I know Miltank's going down, I'll drop the Nihiligo, does some extra chip damage from the poison, but then also they come out and start attacking. And this was my best deck until the very last day of training. Then I ran into problems. Steel Aprons, Pokemon Center Ladies, Guzma, they just seem to be popping up a lot more out of nowhere than they did at the start. And maybe it's because a lot of people have been practicing with all the poison, that a lot of people have added stuff in their decks to counter it. And this one I really just second guessed it, and I was like, oh, I can't do it. So then I changed my mind completely. So no decks had to go something else, and here it is. Back to Blissey. Except a slight change. So because I was fed up with the baby bricking, I decided one baby, I had to find something else that's like a low energy cost. And actually, I went with Spiritomb. So 1 energy to attack, but while it's not massive damage, hits everyone, so I've got the double Cyrus in there. So the plan is he just sits there, chips away, you build up the Blissey at the back, and then when opponent takes out the Spiritomb, come out and just start Cyrusing out all their major pieces and like taking them out one at a time. And hopefully surviving. I haven't really tested it, but fingers crossed it's going to be alright, so I'll see how it goes. Opening up with a Middlemon against an electric deck. So they've got the classic electric staples here of Zora, Pishu and Elemental Switch. And running Electivire, obviously it hits for 120 at max energy, so I can survive that. Interesting using Thunder Spear, Electabuzz, but also Memory Light. So even once it's evolved, it can still hit you on the bench. So I've got to be careful about retreating or dropping any weaker babies. Luckily only one in this deck. Let's see how it goes. Right, okay, so start with the Spiritomb. I switched out from babies to Spiritomb because I was having so many baby bricks. And now it looks like I'm going to have a spirit brick. Can't wait. And who do I get for the ball? A Chansey. So I'll do this just to get some damage spread around. Cyrus out the Electabuzz, because the important thing is Vulcan is the main way of powering it up. So if I don't KO you, you haven't got anything in a discard. Oh, and it's Electivire too. 40. Ah, so it's still got the 40 anywhere. Which is fine, unless I get some healing. So now I'm a bit more hesitant to pull it out. No, I will anyway. But yeah, so the annoying thing is he can just now hit 40 anyway. So my question is he going to go for Chansey or Spiritomb? So I've got this Repel, which is a bit useless. And he's already hitting for 120. Right, early Electivire is going to be a problem, isn't it? Luckily with Iono out the way, can't do anything else to my hand at the minute. Ah, there's Sabrina. Right, so I think you've got this one. Even if I evolve to Blissey, 150, you hit for 120, drops into 30, I can heal to 70. So you got this one. Let's come back for round 2. Going first again. Did I go first last time? I don't remember actually. Right, and double Zorora. So I've got no chance of avoiding any attacks here. Oh, are you going to retreat to Pilishu? Yes. Well, I have to energy on Spirit. I was going to energy Spiritomb retreat, but not now. And I'm not even going to use my Cyrus or my repel. I could drop the Blissey now, but I'm very tempted to get Mantike out, so I don't particularly want to. Retreats, let's see what you do here. Ideally you hit me and then I'll sacrifice Mantike. What healing have you got? You've got capes, so I do need to be able to hit 100 to take you out. And you have now got Electabuzz, which will become Electivire. So if you've got Electivire and Volkner and Elemental Switch, in fact just Volkner will do. I've got both Cyrus. You can't take me out in one go. In fact, because I got double Cyrus, I didn't actually need to do that. Let's see what you're going to do. Okay, I'm either shot, but it requires me to draw Giovanni. In fact, no, it doesn't, because you can't hit me next turn. You've got no energy. Yep, so hit you for 120. You've got no one who attacks with a single electric. So, just in case, do this and do this. Oh no, you could have Volkner. Electivire Volkner. So that could be an issue. Just like this. Memory light. So how do I get around this? I need to draw Cyrus's turn. I've got Cyrus. Irida. I need to draw Irida this turn. That doesn't really help. Don't think I've got any normal healing, so... Ah, shucks. Good game, good game. Well, at least I know where the deck works and the deck doesn't. Be interested to see how it does for the rest of the tourney. See you in the next one.